Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Just Law on IQRA TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, on Just Law we normally discuss an area of law which is of interest to you, our viewers. Secondly, more importantly, Just Law is a live show. So whatever questions that you have on any aspect of English law, please feel free to call in on the number which will be appearing at the bottom of your screen, and hopefully I will be able to give you some guidance in relation to your questions and queries. On this show, I should be able to cover a wide range of English legal subjects, matters arising from immigration queries. We get a lot of questions on immigration matters, which is fantastic. In addition to that, if your query relates to other matters, such as family law matters, personal injury matters, criminal matters, whatever it is, please feel free to ring on the number that appears at the bottom of the screen. Just a couple of minor points before we get going. As always, if you call in and the matter is quite complicated or you don't want to discuss your query in detail because it's sensitive, contains a lot of personal information, that's not a problem. You can leave your number with the control room and I will try and give you back, or you can get my number from the control room and then we can have a discussion later on. And again, secondly, sometimes we get questions where it is necessary to look at documents. Again, if it transpires that I need to look at your documents before I can advise you further, you can always leave your number or get my number from the control room and I can give you a ring back later on. They're the only caveats really, so whatever questions that you have, please do feel free to call in on the number that appears at the bottom of the screen, and hopefully I should be able to give you some advice, guidance in relation to those matters. Now, as always, we normally discuss an area of law which is of interest to you, our viewers. We've had, over the last few weeks, a couple of shows on immigration matters, in particular, spouse applications, how you sponsor spouses to come to the UK. Over the last few weeks, I've looked at that in greater detail, the kind of requirements that have to be met when you're in the UK, you want to sponsor your husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom. Now, if we go one step further and let's work on the basis that your husband or wife who you've sponsored from abroad, whether it's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, wherever it is, they're now in the United Kingdom. And there will then come a time when whatever the length of the visa is that they've been granted, normally it's 2.5 years, that visa will come to an end. How do we extend that? That's what we want to look at today. But as always, primarily it's a show where you can call in. So we've got our first caller on the line. So let's go to our first caller and then return to this topic. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Ilyas bhai, how are you? You okay?
Alhamdulillah, good. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Good, good.
Ilyas bhai, I got one question.
Okay.
My uncle got Panama visa.
Okay, all right.
He live in India.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, he want to come down in UK as well.
Okay.
So he can apply from Panama for
Okay.
UK visa?
Okay. But he's in India at the moment, is he?
Yes.
And when is he thinking of traveling to Panama?
In India to Mumbai to Panama.
Okay.
First.
Okay.
Then after Panama to come down here.
All right. Okay.
Someone told me if you go Panama visa,
Hmm.
you don't need UK visa.
No, that's not correct. As far as the UK is concerned, because he's from India, he's an Indian national, he will have to get a visa to come here to the UK. And there are
So still, if he want a visa, UK visa, still he need a sponsor and everything.
he will need a sponsor if he doesn't have enough money himself. See, first of all, what he needs to decide is this, because we know he does need a visa because he is an Indian national, a visa national. We know that. The question really is, when does he apply for that visa? He can apply from India.
He can apply from India as well.
Or, because it's a visitor visa, he can actually apply from Panama as well. So with visit visas, you're not restricted in terms of where you apply from. So you can apply from your own home country, and you can also apply from any country that you are visiting
He need a sponsor and income and everything. He will need to show.
This is the problem. Okay, let's say he goes to Panama. If he applies from Panama, he still has to do exactly the same as what he would have done had he applied from India. So,
my uncle is a poor. Okay, poor. He's a poor family. He got just some land, and he got the ice selling.
Yeah.
He do business ice selling.
Okay.
It's a small business.
It's a small business. See, the problem is that they will still want to look at his financial circumstances in India, wherever he applies from. So in terms of evidence of his income, evidence of his savings, evidence of his family in India, all these things which show that he would go back, he has an incentive to go back to his home country, he would have to show that. And then obviously in terms of the UK, because from what you're saying, financially he's okay, but he's not tremendously well off. So
if I will show my income and I will tell them, I will support them, then
that helps. That helps, no? Because that then shows when your uncle comes to the UK, he's got a place to live and he's got somebody who will look after him financially. And the cost is going to be minimal for somebody who's visiting for a short time. But at least that bit is covered. But as I've always said, that's to do with him coming to the UK and his expenses in the UK being covered. He still has to show.
Do you have any idea how much they need to show their income?
There's no set figure as such. But if you think about it, what's a reasonable income in India, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh? Normally, if somebody is earning in the region of about £300, £400 a month, that's quite a reasonable income because the cost of living is much lower than the United Kingdom. So in the UK, you'd expect on average somebody might be earning net £1,000, £1,200 or whatever it is. In India, Pakistan, etc., if they're earning £400 or something in that region, maybe £500, that's a very reasonable income. So the point is, even though you may sponsor him for this visit in terms of living here, in terms of expenses, in terms of even the cost of travel, he still has to show what his financial circumstances are like in India. That's where the difficulty is there. So if you're saying his business is I think you said trading in ice, but he will have to demonstrate that somehow.
Okay, Jazakallah. And one more question.
Yeah, okay.
He got diabetes and obviously he taking medicine and everything.
Okay.
So when he travel here, UK, so he need to show the certificate, the insurance certificate.
Okay, all right. So with the United Kingdom, when you apply for the visa or when you come to the UK, there's no requirement for you to have insurance, health insurance. UK doesn't operate that, so there's no requirement to have health insurance. Some countries, if you travel to some countries, you must have health insurance. So let's take an example, Saudi. If we as British citizens, if we travel to Saudi, at the moment the requirement is not only do you get a visa, you must show evidence that you've got health insurance. UK doesn't operate that system. For the United Kingdom, you simply have to apply for a visa. You don't have to get health insurance. However, if once he comes to the UK and he falls ill, he would have to pay for healthcare apart from emergency healthcare. So accident and emergency is free. The moment you're taken to the ward or the moment you go as an inpatient to the hospital, you would have to pay for that. So that's where the difficulty arises. So sometimes it's advisable to have some kind of arrangement in place beforehand.
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. Huh? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your call. Thank you. We'll take our next call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Hi, walaikum assalam. Brother, can you give me some clarification on spouse visa extension application?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
So I'll be most likely giving 12 months pay slips.
Okay, that's fine.
At the time of application.
Okay, that's fine.
And I think so. If there's a gap in between one employment and the second employment,
yep.
I think the last time I spoke to you, you said as long as the whole year's income is more than 18,600.
Yep.
That's okay. But
Yeah.
does that include both the spouse and the applicant and the sponsor's income, or is it just one income?
Yeah. So a couple of points. One is the first thing that you said was about the gap. The gap under the 12-month rule, the gap is no problem. That's the starting point. Yep. Secondly, the condition that needs to be satisfied, as long as you've earned 18,600 over 12 months, is fine, as long as at the time of application your income is 18,600 as well. So you still, what you can't have is, let's say you've got a very high paying job for 11 months and then you lose that job. In the final month, the 12th month, you've got a job which only pays £1,000 a month. So although in the whole year you've earned 18,600 because you had a fantastic job before, the problem is at the time of application in that current job you won't have 18,600. So it's got to be met in two ways. Add everything up over 12 months, first of all. Secondly, look at what you're earning in that particular job as well. So that's the second thing. Now the point you made is, does it include the applicant and the spouses? Yes, it does. It includes, so you can have the applicant's income, the spouse's income. But just a couple of points on that. One is, you have to use the 12-month period for both. So you look at 12 months for both. And secondly, let's say you're working and you're earning a reasonable amount of money. We can count your income. But if your wife is you can only count her income if she's working at the time of application. Otherwise, you won't be able to count her income.
Okay.
So
you both have to be working at the time of application, and has to be roughly about 1,500 minimum.
1550
over the last month. Yeah.
50. So 1550. So it's you add up everything, but the other important thing is, that's all well and good. You might have earned enough money, but at the time of application, how much are you actually earning in this new job that you've started, you and your wife? So if your wife has had a job, let me give you an example, for the last 10 months, but she's lost the job now and you're applying in the next month. The problem is that you can't count her 10 months because she isn't earning anything currently. So it's a bit of a unnecessarily complicated, but you can meet the requirements over 12 months. Just need to be a bit careful. So if you look at your circumstances, when do you think you'll be applying for the extension?
Okay, the extension expiry date is October 21st this year.
Okay.
And I was hoping to put the application in, say, the 1st of October.
Okay, all right. So what do you think? Are you going to be on fixed pay or variable pay at that time? What do you think?
Well, I'm going through a procedure of changing my jobs now.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe around May or June I might be in another job. Okay. So like there'll be a job change in the last 6 months.
I understand. So in that new job, what do you think your income might be? I know.
Mine might be around about 18,000.
Okay, so we'll be short by, let's say, about £600, no?
Yeah.
So for your wife, she needs to have a job which pays. Obviously, if she's got a job, it's going to pay at least £600 per annum. But she will need a job at that time. Okay. Assuming she's got the job, then you're on that 18,000 per annum. Let's say your wife's on £5,000 per annum at that stage. You meet that requirement. As at the time of application, it's 18 plus 5. So you've got £23,000. What do you then do? The first thing I said, you add up all your income over 12 months, which that's the way you've got to do it.
Okay. So when you add up all your income over the last 12 months, you can also include the wife's income as well?
Yes, 100%.
As long as the last month the wife is your total income is combines more than the requirement.
Yeah. So what I was trying to get at is, the problem would be, let's say you're on 18,000. Your wife has worked previously, but as at the date of application, she's not working. So her income would count as zero. You wouldn't make it at that stage. Even though she's worked before and earned a lot of money, because at the date of application, she's not working. It's zero at that stage. So it's important. She's earning as well for you to be able to meet that shortfall. Does that make sense? Or?
Yeah. No, that makes absolute sense. Thank you so much for that.
No problem. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for your call. Thank you. Thank you. So just before we took those calls, we were looking at extension applications. And it sort of fits in with what the caller was saying as well. So we're working on the basis that the spouse, the husband, the wife, whoever it is from abroad, they've got their visa, they're in the United Kingdom. And now we're looking at once the visa expiry date approaches, in the same way that the previous caller was talking about the visa expiring in October. Once the visa expiry date approaches, what do you need to do for the visa to be successfully extended? So that's what we're really looking at today. I always say to clients that, look, a lot of documents that we need to submit, you don't really need to worry about, because they are documents that you're going to have in your possession anyway. So certain documents are straightforward, such as obviously you as the applicant, you'll need to submit your passport, you'll have your visa card, your sponsor in the UK, your husband or wife, will have their passport as well. Marriage certificate, something that you used previously to show that you're married, something that you used to come to the United Kingdom, you'll have your marriage certificate. If you've had children, you'll have birth certificates for the children, plus you'll have the passports, if their passports have been made as well. So certain key documents you're going to have anyway. So there's really nothing to worry about as far as those documents are concerned. Passports, marriage certificates, birth certificates, biometric card for you as the applicant. That's straightforward. That's just a question of finding them from wherever they are. There's nothing to worry about as far as that's concerned. What do you really need to bear in mind when you apply for an extension? And I always say to clients is that you just need to really bear 3 things in mind when you apply for the extension. Firstly, there is an English requirement that you will need to fulfill. Secondly, there is a financial requirement that you will need to fulfill, similar to what the previous caller was talking about. Thirdly, you will have to prove that your relationship is still subsisting. So really, just focus on those 3 things, because the other stuff is straightforward. It's just a matter of collecting documents that you already have. It doesn't require any effort, it doesn't require any action on your part apart from finding those documents. So your passports, your marriage certificates, your birth certificates, your biometric card, there isn't anything there that you really need to concern yourself with. It's really these 3 things that you need to focus on. That there is an English language requirement, there is a financial requirement that has to be met, and you will have to prove that your marriage is subsisting. So whenever clients come to see me, I say to them, look, really focus on these 3 things. And as long as you manage to satisfy the requirements as far as these 3 things are concerned, there isn't any problem at all. The application should easily go through. The other key point that I emphasize to clients is that advanced planning, similar to what the caller was asking, was doing, not due to apply until October, but preparing well in advance, is advisable. Because if you leave these things to the last moment, let's say you're applying for the extension in October and you haven't addressed your mind to the English requirement, the financial requirements, everything's all over the place, what the proof is going to be that your marriage is subsisting, you haven't really collected anything, that's going to make your job more difficult, more stressful, and it could, in the worst case scenario, lead to your application being refused. So prepare well in advance. I think that's the key message in relation to these 3 requirements. So let's look at these 3 requirements in slightly greater detail. First of all, the English requirement. Now, as our viewers will be aware, when you as the applicant, when you've applied in your home country, whether it's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, when you've applied to come to the United Kingdom on a spouse visa, you would have normally done an English test in your home country. And that test would normally be what's known as a test which is at A1, it's the A1 life skills test, which you would have normally done. Now, there are exceptions to that. If you've got a degree, you don't need to do it. If you're over the age of 65, you don't need to do it. If you're unwell, you don't need to do it. But generally speaking, in practice, 95% of clients would have done the standard test, which is A1 life skills. That is sufficient for you to be able to get entry into the United Kingdom. But once you have entry into the United Kingdom, now you wish to extend your visa, the English language requirement at that stage is that you must pass the A2 test in English. You've already done the A1 test in your home country. Now you need to do the A2 test in English. Again, in the same way that the A1 test only tested your ability to speak and listen to the English language, again, in the same way, the A2 test focuses on simply those two components, speaking and listening. It doesn't it doesn't test reading and writing. So in one sense, it's a relatively easy test to pass because you've passed the A1 test already when you've come to the United Kingdom. You've lived in the UK for 2.5 years. Hopefully you've picked up enough of the English language to be able to pass the A2 test here in the United Kingdom. And it's only testing your ability to speak and listen to the English language. Now, it's a relatively easy process. Most of the in-country A2 tests are done by an organisation which is known as Trinity College London. It has test centres across the United Kingdom, and so what you would do is go online, Trinity College London website, you go online and you book your test on that website. You select the centre, you select A2 test, and normally it will say it's for further leave to remain, etc. So it's the A2 test and you select the centre and you do it. You should be able to get confirmation fairly quickly. If you were booking Monday today, if you were trying to book a test today, it's fine. You'd be able to book it within a couple of days. You'd get your certificate within a week or 10 days. So English language requirement is a requirement which needs to be fulfilled at the extension stage. Now, I've said before, you need to prepare in advance. If you feel that your English isn't at the required level for you to be able to pass the A2 test, if you're well prepared and you're looking at this many months before the expiry date of your visa, it gives you the opportunity to go on any courses to try and improve your English. So advanced preparation always helps. So that's one of the first key things that you need to do, is pass the A2 test in English. The other two things that we were talking about, the financial requirement that needs to be met, which is what the caller was talking about when the caller called in. Then the evidence about the relationship subsisting, how do you prove that? That's something we can look at in greater detail after we come back from our short break. But the key point is, the three things that we need to focus on is English, finances, and how do you prove that your relationship is subsisting. We'll be back in the next few minutes.